Welcome to Meet Messiahs. This is Pastor Steve Schlissel. Today we'll be talking with Nick Morrison, and we're going to get to know him a little better. And after we get to know him a little better, we'll find out some stuff that he's been thinking on for 1 or 2 decades and see what we might learn. People in Messiahs, they're not always loud, but they're always interesting. And so we're using this time to get to know some of the less obvious gifts. I say less obvious because we don't come to church on a Lord's Day with everybody performing and showing off what they can do. But there's a time and a place for everything. So let's jump right into it. Nick Morrison, tell us about yourself. Where were you born, and how many siblings, and your parents, and like how was your upbringing? Was it in one state?
Oh, well, I was born in Tucson, Arizona, a long time ago, and I come from a blended family. So I have a sister, and I have two brothers, and I have another sister. So yes, and I grew up all across the country. I grew up in Arizona for a good period, and I spent 5 years growing up in Salt Lake City, Utah. Moved to North
Was your
Carolina.
family Mormon?
No, we moved to St. Louis and then back to Arizona. I
How
went.
did Salt Lake City come into play?
My stepdad had a job there, and he got a better opportunity there.
That's a big tech center now in Utah.
Yeah, I imagine. I don't know too much about Salt Lake nowadays, but I know it's grown a lot
Yeah,
apparently.
tremendous.
Yeah, and so then after I was went to high school in Arizona, I moved to New York area in 1996 to study jazz over here. Yeah.
To go to school here?
Yeah.
At what school?
At William Patterson.
And you had a lot of friends there?
Sure did. Yeah. Most people that I know now through musical situations are through William Patterson. Yeah.
When you were at school, did you finish a bachelor's degree
Yeah. I mean, I finished my bachelor's degree
in performance?
and I did music business and performance, and that was in around 2000 and 2001. And then after that, I started teaching in the school system for a few years, and then I went back 3 years later, and I completed my master's at William Patterson in jazz studies and jazz performance. Yeah.
Did Clark Terry or anybody
Yeah.
we know have anything to do
Well,
with that?
yeah. I mean, one of the best musical moments of my life was during my master's. I got to meet and play and study with Clark Terry for over a year of my life. So yeah, that was humongous.
Was he a cool guy?
Oh, yeah. I mean, he was. Not only was he cool, but he was really just giving of himself. He loved mentoring other people.
Yeah.
He really invested his time and his energy into
You saw him
other
doing
students.
things like that, not just you?
Yeah,
would
not just
be open to other people?
Oh, tons of people. I mean, yeah. So that's what he really had a humongous impact on so many musicians and young people. Yeah, that was his passion. He was so giving of his time and his talent. But yeah, he was
That-
cool too. you know?
That's a great thing, but it's not perfectly typical. It's not,
Yeah.
you don't find that in every named musician.
No, not everybody is wired that way.
Hmm.
I mean, I heard the story of Clark Terry, like when he was trying to learn trumpet back in St. Louis. It was almost like the mastery of the instrument was kept secretive. Like I forgot the name of the trumpet player, but one that he admired. They'd go listen to him in the window, and the guy would be practicing and put a cloth over the
So
valves,
they couldn't see what he
so
was
they couldn't
doing?
see the fingerings and things
What?
like that. So it didn't want to share that stuff.
And
But
St. Louis is a trumpet city. Miles
Yeah.
is from East St. Louis, isn't
yeah.
it?
So, but Clark was willing to share all his gifts with everybody, and so I was fortunate to be a part. I showed up at a great drummer named Josh Dion, who I used to play a lot with. He was playing his band at the bitter end. I showed up to the bitter end that night, and then I met this Australian drummer named Al Hicks, and we were just chatting it up at the bitter end in between sets. And then week later, I get a call, and I say, "Hey, you want to come to Clark Terry's house and do a jam session?" I said, "Sure." And then,
Wow.
and
Where did he
then,
live in Jersey?
yeah, he lived in Jersey, not too far from me. And then, um, yeah, then I guess Al was helping Clark and do all that stuff, and then he got hooked him up at William Patterson, and then he was teaching ensemble, and then so every week he would rehearse us for like 3 hours a day during my master.
Whoa.
So that was an amazing period of my life to learn from him. Yeah, it was tremendous.
Was he connected at that time with one of these female vocalists in our area here, a woman from Manhattan? I can't remember who it was. I'm thinking he was working with. Um, did he have anybody that who relied on him particularly?
I don't remember any female vocalists because he was mostly leading the group. So I mean,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I'm trying to. I mean, he played and collaborated with everybody, but during that time, I can't remember.
So
Yeah.
when you were doing this and you doing your masters, was this incorporated into your masters credits?
Well, that was when in school because we were just studying jazz. Part of the classes you have to take are an ensemble. Every jazz major had to take ensembles. So that was technically one of my ensembles.
Uh
So we
huh.
did get a credit for it.
You
Yeah.
got credit, but not your
Yeah.
master's credit.
No, it was part of it. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
good.
Mhm.
Now, did you have a thesis?
Yes.
Which was what?
My thesis was I was studying the great jazz bassist Ron Carter, and
Mm-hmm.
his role within the Miles Davis Quintet of the mid 1960s. So people always called him an anchor, and he would anchor the ensemble. But I read in interviews he didn't like being called that because an anchor stops a boat from going anywhere. And
Ah, that's very funny.
he's like, nope, I'm not that. My thesis was called "More Than an Anchor: The Role of Ron Carter Within That
Very
Ensemble." Yeah,
good. So
yeah.
the way he thought of himself gave you the approach that you wanted to take in your
Yeah,
thesis.
so I talked about how his bass playing um, kept that ensemble, which was at a period of time where a lot of the music was going into free jazz or the avant-garde. Was Ron Carter
Like
was able,
Coleman and these other guys.
well, later Coltrane, Archie Shepp, some of that kind of stuff. But that Miles Davis choosing the band members perfectly, Ron Carter was able to keep the ensemble rooted in the tradition. However, with the freedom to let the ensemble stretch the boundaries while they were
When you
playing
say
standard
free
form.
jazz, who are you thinking of as representatives of that free jazz
Well, there was a
approach?
whole free jazz movement,
Wasn't Ornette doing that?
Ornette Coleman, Shape of Jazz to Come, Archie Shepp, later John Coltrane, and so a lot of that music did not rely with. It didn't have a steady rhythm, a steady beat, a steady tempo. It also didn't have a key center per se. It was using a lot of different sounds, different cascading sounds. The
Well, it would seem that
improvisation.
a bass player is more important in those circumstances than less so. I mean,
Well,
more of an anchor, I should say.
in those situations, in a
Yeah,
free situation,
yeah. But who's going to hold it?
well, there wasn't anything to hold. That's the thing. Sometimes
Wow.
the bass,
Oh man.
sometimes it was just turning into that,
Wow.
So, but not all the time. There was melodic moments and things that you could trace as well. So, I mean, but sometimes it did end up into just pure sonic
Chaos. Yeah. Sound.
organized chaos. Well, I don't know. Yeah, yeah,
Well,
definitely.
the movement had an end.
Yeah.
It didn't stay, and it's not people representing it today in the same way.
People still play it to this day, but definitely that was the period of time in the late 1960s where it really kind of took root, and that was when it was most flourishing, mostly at that time.
And at what point did you meet the love of your life? Was it in the time that you were in
I
school?
met her when my last year during my undergrad, so I met her in the year of 2000. Yeah,
Oh.
late 1999.
And when did you marry?
We married in 2001, spring of 2001. Yeah,
And how many kids have you?
we got 4 children.
And you got Toosie and Toosie?
Yeah, 2 girls, 2 boys, and so they age 20, almost 17 and a half, and then 15 and 11. Yeah, so they're growing up.
They're getting old.
Yeah, yeah.
And your wife is musical?
Yeah, she is, but she doesn't do it so often, but she can sing very well. She can play rhythm guitar, but she's pretty quiet about it, but she's good.
Doesn't she do a little percussion?
Well, not really, but she has been known to sit behind a drum set and play a good beat.
She's not afraid to do that. I
she
mean,
could do it, but yeah, she's good at it. She can lay down a beat if she needs to, but it's been a while.
all
She
right.
hasn't sit behind a drum kit in probably 20 years and something like that.
And
Yeah.
what about your kids? Are they musical?
All of them are, yes. Thankfully, they've grown up in a musical environment. They've seen us all play. So my oldest daughter is at William Patterson, where I went. So she's studying voice.
Is
And
that gratifying to you to have her at the same school that you studied at?
well, it just works out conveniently because we live 10 minutes away. So it's really great for the convenience factor. But it is great to see her back there and taking and doing the music. And she's doing it in her own way, and she's excelling. She's a great singer, great vocalist, and
Well,
she's a great student.
She's not you. We know
Yeah,
she's not you, but
yeah.
still, like when people go to Harvard, they get this legacy admission. They get you were there, your kid goes there.
Yeah.
And so there's some kind of specialness to that.
I mean, it's special for me. I hope it's special for her too, to see her second generation going there. I'm really
Is
proud
she meeting
of her.
people that you had known and had relationships with on the faculty?
Well, some of the faculty are still there. Like
Yeah.
the guy who was running the program, he's I'm hearing is retiring soon, but he's still running that program.
That's a big deal.
Yeah, big time. Yeah, big time. So he's there, and some of the other teachers are there. So it's that I interacted with. So it's pretty neat to see her there.
I
now.
should come home with some stories, new
Yeah.
stories for you about
Yes.
this. So yeah, she's doing vocal.
Yeah, she's a great vocalist, and
And
we've
she's
gotten.
doing performance for a degree in
Well,
performance.
she's doing music education, so she'll have her music certification so that she could teach in schools if she wants to.
Okay.
And she's doing plenty of performing. Yeah.
And your next kid,
Then I have Fiona. Fiona's a place she sings. She plays bass guitar and she plays piano very well, and she's also a great artist. And so she's just finished up college.
fine artist,
Yeah.
painting and drawing.
Yep. Yeah. So that's fine art's kind of what her passion is, but she's also excellently gifted at music as well too.
Does she try to make money from art?
Not yet. She does it on
Does
her.
she think about it?
We'll see. She's figuring out what her plans will be.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then you have Elijah.
Yep. Elijah is, he's a
He looks
master
about
of.
6'2" now. He says he's
about
5'11". I don't think so.
Yeah, he's probably almost 6 feet. He's a master of the Rubik's Cube. He's a
Is
great
he?
guitar player, good songwriter, good singer, good basketball player. He's got a lot of different interests. But yeah.
Well, he does one of these and he gets it. The Rubik's, like those guys who are speed demons.
Yeah, he's a speed cuber. He can solve the Rubik's Cube in I don't know. But he just got under an 8-second average of 5 solves today. So that's like pretty elite level. If you're that's insanely
crazy.
fast. Yeah. So that's his passion.
And Ethan.
And Ethan, the little guy, he's a great pianist. He loves modern jazz stylings of Robert Glasper, neo soul, all these advanced chordal things that he's figuring out. So that's what he's doing. So they're all They're all great musicians, and they're all.
Who does Ethan like to listen to?
Mostly new people. Like I told you, Robert Glasper. That's one of his favorite pianists.
How did he discover him? Was he listening to Spotify or something?
I was listening to some of the Robert Glasper stuff, and then he grasped onto it. And we were also like this singer named Gretchen Parlato, which Robert Glasper played on a lot of.
her.
Yeah, he played on a lot of her older records, so we would always listen to that. But then once he heard a certain sound, he really grasped towards it. And now anybody in that genre, people that I haven't really heard about, these people called like Anomaly. I don't know.
Is that a group?
It's a pianist, I think, but it's complicated rhythms, dense harmonies. He's figuring that music out. So yeah.
Is he?
Yeah.
That's better him than me.
He figures it out by ear. So he's got some good ears.
Wow.
So they all love the music, and they're all doing it in their kind of their own ways.
But it sounds like it's different areas of music. Like there's so many subsets today, and for him to have one particular type of piano interest, and then his siblings are not following that same kind of music.
Yeah. Exactly. He found there was something that just really interested his ear, and he's delving into that those kinds of sounds. And
Have you exposed them to T Monk at all?
yeah, we listen. We've listened to a lot of all the great pianists. So I put on, Oscar Peterson, Thelonious Monk, music Keith Jarrett. Yeah,
I would think
you
he
know,
would like Keith, just the whole thing of a concert of his.
yeah, yeah, definitely so. Yeah,
Like he would listen beginning to end.
yeah. I mean, Keith Jarrett did these. Well, Keith Jarrett was known for doing a lot of solo improvisation in concerts. So one of his most famous is the Cone concert. I think it was done in the '70s. But he would he shows up at a place like Carnegie Hall and improvises
Yeah.
for about 2 hours straight, and that's a performance.
And
And
real devotees love to go there and listen and just
yeah,
drink it in, as if he was a guru,
hmm
and he's teaching them just by being himself.
yes, he's one of the greatest pianists who ever lived for sure. And in addition to his solo work, his work with his legendary trio was groundbreaking. When especially all the standard stuff. And Keith Jarrett also played with Miles in the '70s, and I mean, but
Everybody had to go through Miles at some
yes,
point.
yeah, most of the greatest musicians who came up in the '80s played with Miles at some point.
You think that Miles' gift is not just music or trumpet or playing, but his management of people, his putting together the groups that belong?
Yeah,
I mean, because
a
that's
lot
a
of
gift.
people.
That's a unique gift.
Yeah, a lot of people write about that. Like that, Miles. One of his knacks was creating bands. So
It's
he
no
would.
easy thing to
No,
do.
he knew how to get, like when I talked about Ron Carter earlier. He would just pick the right ingredients. So, and the collaboration between all the different musicians would end up with an improvisation, with a musical. That was kind of greater than the individuals themselves.
That's the idea.
Yeah, yeah. So that's what he was known for, and he did it several times. So people say he changed music, but yeah, he was always forward thinking, changing styles and genres, and getting musicians that were ready for those challenges.
He
And so
also
he had
didn't like being left behind. If he saw something develop in an area, he wanted to know it and appreciate it and see if it was for him,
hmm
if it would fit anything that he's about, and then step into it a little bit or
yeah
bring somebody into his world.
hmm
Like McLaughlin, you wouldn't think that they're exactly
yeah
simpatico with
simpatico
each other,
yeah
because John was at that time a lot of screeching,
hmm
fast work,
yeah
but Miles was more melodic and
yeah
just different.
sure
But then he would also get two saxophonists on one record,
yeah
and two great
yeah
saxophonists.
with John Coltrane and Cannonball Paul Adderley.
How
That
do
was
you manage that and to have a
yeah
group and they get along? They're
hmm
doing different things.
yeah, each one has their own distinct sound and voice,
Isn't it
for sure.
amazing?
I mean, Cannonball was coming, kind of a lot of blues. I mean, there was everybody was in the jazz tradition, but Cannonball had this blues sensibility to it, and then Coltrane is just John Coltrane. There's nobody
He
like
takes
him.
off.
Yeah, and then you have Miles's sense of deep melodicism and phrasing and
Mm.
all that stuff. Just they complemented each other so well.
And you
Yeah.
think Miles' spacing is his time and what he doesn't say, what he doesn't play, is sort of a unique thing for him, or one
Well,
of his
yeah. I mean,
obvious gifts.
he was known for his phrasing and his use of space, and that the way that he could bend space and time. He was a master of that.
I
So
was
is
always
that
surprised
play?
at people who ended up in his group. I would just see, like, get an Asian kid who's on keyboards. You never
Yeah.
heard of him, and then he's like amazing.
Yeah, he would always source out new talent and help them develop as artists. A lot of young people. He definitely, for sure. I
So,
mean,
yeah,
he took
you're
Tony.
doing fine.
He
You're doing
took yeah, he took Tony Williams as a 17-year-old kid,
Yeah.
and at 18 years old, Tony Williams changed drumming forever, innovated drumming at that young age.
Yeah.
But it was I mean, I don't know if he would have done. I don't know, but you
He
could
may have
speculate.
found another way.
Yeah, but you could speculate if it wasn't for Miles Davis, would he have developed and made the contribution that he did?
Certainly
At
it gives
least
you
at the time.
confidence
Sure.
to know
Yeah.
you're with
Yeah.
Miles. You allow
Yeah.
lot more bravado after that.
Sure. I mean, yeah. I mean, once he, I would hear that. I've read that he wouldn't give too much instruction or very clear directives. He would really just let set the tone and the vibe and let it happen. But it wasn't like play this on the beat, and a 4 and play this phrase exactly like this. He wasn't. It wasn't like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Well, I heard that story with Herbie talking about what he learned from Miles when there was a wrong note.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
he transitioned to Miles,
There
who
you
then
go.
built on it.
Yeah. So you got that one. Apparently, Herbie just played a completely wrong chord, and he felt very embarrassed at that moment. And then Miles just heard it as another sound and identified it and embellished upon it and used it. And
That's a great story.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a lot of
that
those.
was a life lesson for him.
Yeah.
And it's a life lesson for everybody, really.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's the kind of thing a preacher will use.
Yeah.
You make an application.
And I heard another one from something like, I don't know if I should play or not, or I don't know if I just be, meaning what ends someone else, then don't play. It's like if you're not sure what you should play, then just don't. So.
That's really something.
I don't know if that's worded correctly like that, but something to that effect.
Yeah, they're good Miles stories, thousands of them.
Yeah, yeah.
Around New York, you get his Maserati.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So you got the bass in your hand. That's nice. It's very convenient that you happen to come here when there's a bass out.
Well, you got your Thunderbird here.
So what's that famous thing from the Temptations that from the '60s? My Girl?
Well, My Girl. That's when you hear that song, right?
Yeah.
Everyone knows that one. But then the guitar goes. But that's the bass still stays.
The bass. It only does that.
Yeah, that's all the bass does. The guitar does the other line.
Oh.
Yeah. Whoa.
It's on the low strings, the guitar, so you tricks you.
That's all it does. But then the other guitar comes in,
Bum, 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 bum.
Yeah.
I got sunshine on a cloudy day. When it's cold outside, I got the month of May. Well, I guess you might say, what could make me feel this way? I'll tell you, it's my girl. Talking about my girl. When Sly and the Family Stone, they did this song, it was his sister was in the group, his brother was on guitar, playing funky type guitar.
Yeah.
And then you had Larry Graham on the bass, Mr. Slap.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
And you remember that song they do, Cynthia Robinson on trumpet, she screams out, everybody dance to
Dance
the
to
music.
the music, yeah.
And then they say, boom, boom, boom.
Yeah.
And then they do this, I'm going to add some guitar to make it easy to move your feet. And I would think that's the drummer or the bass, but the guitar says that. Mm-hmm. And then Larry comes on and says, I'm going to add some bottom so that the dance rhythm just won't hide.
Yeah. This thing's a little
funky there.
Whoa, baby. yeah, something like that.
Yeah. That's it.
Yeah, but Larry Graham was credited with inventing the slap bass style of bass playing. He apparently.
And it's still used. It's very popular.
The slap where you'd slap with your thumb like this and pop it with your string.
They had the TV shows use that kind of thing on their themes.
Yeah, everyone said that to Seinfeld, but
not just Seinfeld. I mean, like even Welcome Back, Kotter, other shows that were doing it.
Oh yeah. Night Court.
Night Court.
Yeah, I remember that one. Something like that. But yeah, he invented that playing with his mom because they didn't. They got rid of the drummer, and so he tried to make the bass sound more like a drum. So he'd hit. This would be the bass drum. This would be the snare. Oh,
that's like some of these guys who take the acoustic guitar and they do their percussion on it.
Yeah.
But they really do supply the percussion.
Yeah. So it's just adding that percussion element to the bass playing, and then people took that and ran with it. I used to know Hair. That's one of Larry Graham's greatest slap bass lines. But I couldn't demonstrate for right now. I'd have to practice
From the
it again.
musical Hair on Broadway?
No, it's just his song called Hair
Oh,
from Graham Central Station that came right after
yeah.
He left Sly and the Family, and then he fronted his own band, Graham Central Station. It's this tune called Hair, that has a serious bass line, and another one called Pow. Those are some of his
That
classic
sounds like
slap.
something he would do.
But the first slap one was "Thank You for Letting Me Be Myself," and that was like what they credit with the first,
Dun, 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 dun. Yep. Looking at the bar.
Yeah, something like that, That was the first one. I didn't play it perfectly right, but
Did you
that's
see Sly in his later years just so pathetic? His whole body degraded. It's like he can hardly stand up. And
yeah, I hadn't seen that. I know he had some troubles, and then I heard that he recently got money that was entitled to him. He wasn't getting paid his royalties and all that stuff. So I
yeah,
think he finally got it. But yeah,
I hope so,
Yeah,
because I'll tell you, you want to talk about music bringing joy.
yeah.
That guy brought happiness whenever he performed.
Mm-hmm.
We used to see him in Central Park
Yeah.
all the time, and people would go crazy. It was so up on racial harmony, like
Mhm.
there was no issue.
Yeah.
Not talking about it, just living it.
Mhm.
And so he had it in his band, he had it in the audience, and
Yeah.
everybody was loving it.
Yeah.
And he did it. He brought it home.
He brought people together.
But
That's
then,
wonderful.
and he was such a personality, so electric. But then, it it was harsh to him. He had been living in his van, I heard, for years, just
Yeah.
not a very happy guy. But I hope he got. I hope that
In
money
fairness,
helped.
I heard that he said he likes the RV lifestyle.
I know,
and
but I don't
prefer-
believe it.
You don't think so?
No.
I don't. Maybe some people are in. I've seen some nice ones out there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I don't.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
saw an interview. I read an interview
Yeah.
with his son that it didn't sound so convincing. But
Okay.
I just hope that he would do better at the end, because
Sure,
that's
yeah.
a cruel thing. After
Yeah.
you give so much and
Mm-hmm.
going around the world, you're always touring everywhere.
Yeah.
Have you done a lot of touring?
No, I haven't done too much touring because as soon as I was playing a lot of bands and stuff when I was in my early 20s, but then I was playing a Latin jazz gig and someone asked me, "Hey, do you want to start teaching?" And that was right when I got married, and I said, "Yeah, I'll do this for like a year or two, and then I'll be on tour." And then I started having kids, and so it was like being the traveling musician wasn't the best use of what I was
Well,
pursuing.
so the life
Yeah.
of a musician, like there's a panoply of possibilities,
Yes.
and then you have to choose one or two. Like you can't do everything. There's some
Yes.
things that you'll exempt yourself from.
Well, I mean,
not touring for me because I'm a family man.
yeah, I mean, I at that time the teaching doors were opened for me, and I was thankful to have a career, and then I was able to continue performing locally in the New York area all the time. So I was happy with doing that, and then I didn't have didn't go on any big tours, which was fine. It was what was meant for me to happen. I was meant to raise my kids. I wasn't meant to be on the road, 200 dates a year.
Well,
Yeah.
it might be great to do that, and then again,
Yeah,
it might
sure,
not.
exactly.
But with kids, that's 100% what you want, is your kids to be with you and to.
Yeah, I mean that's definitely for them, because it's like if I'm, dad's gone all this. I mean, there's some places where it might be good, but it's tough. Yeah, for those.
I don't know how those guys who tour, like some of them are very successful, they're always gone.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, it's tough. Yeah.
You knew this guy who was playing with Paul Simon. What was he, a drummer for Paul?
Yeah.
Did he go to school with you?
Yeah, there was this guy named he used to play drum. He was an amazing jazz drummer, and now he turned into a
Pop?
no, not pop, but he plays more like Nashville Telecaster master. His name was Jim Oblon. I didn't know him very well, but he's a master. He was a master drummer then, and then he turned into a master Telecaster player. So yeah.
Anybody in Nashville's a master.
Yeah.
You ever hear John Sebastian's song about Nashville cats? He says they've been playing guitar since they're 2.
Yes.
So every mother's son in Nashville can just put everybody else to shame.
Yeah.
They are amazing.
Oh yeah. Those some of the greatest musicians over there.
For
Playing all
sure.
those records. Oh yeah, for sure, definitely.
Oh, who's this guy? I was watching with Irving. This guy, oh man, Pearson, I think his name is. Is it Larry? But he was playing with the Allman Brothers for some long stint, along with the fellow who does Government Mule. What's that guy?
Okay.
Haynes,
Mm-hmm.
Warren Haynes. So he was
Warren
doing
Haynes.
it,
Yeah, I've heard that.
and I never thought of him. I never heard of him. And then I see this guy saying, "This fellow is terrific," and I watched him closely, and he's a Nashville guy.
Mm-hmm.
So when Tommy Emmanuel goes to Nashville, he always looks him up. They get together, so he knows all these great guys because he's one of the great
Yeah.
guys, but very under, like not a
Sure.
pushy
Mm-hmm.
egomaniac, just a guy who knows what he's doing on the instrument. So I'll send you
Okay.
one or two of his videos on YouTube because he's all over the place from years and years ago till now, still doing it.
Mm-hmm.
They
Yeah.
they die with the guitar in their hand.
Sure. Yeah.
And I saw recently a guy who was blind. I think he's from the Midwest, and he became quite popular too. He just loved the music. He wouldn't stop playing, and he became great
Yeah.
on the instrument and was getting notoriety and a
Okay.
name for himself.
Mm-hmm.
That's one thing about the music field is that if you're good, you like it says in the Bible, a man good at his work is going to do it before kings.
Yeah.
He's not going to be obscure.
Sure. Yeah.
And in music, it works like that.
Most of the time, yeah. I mean, there's a lot that has to happen.
Well, there's
but,
politics everywhere.
yeah, but I mean, the cream generally rises to the top, as they say. Yes, that's definitely true.
Yeah, you may have a limited success, but you'll be heard, is what I mean.
Yeah, yeah.
Because club owners still want to have somebody that's going to draw.
They're going to recognize it. They're going to that ability to connect the music that you make to your audience. And that's what it's about.
That's what you got to do.
Mm-hmm.
So I wanted my grandson Irving to make a debut in Eastern Oregon at the OK Theater.
Yeah.
I thought he ought to put together a program,
Yeah, you got to rip it up over there. I know he's with the brothers brand.
Yeah, well, get one of them playing drums, and his father's pretty good on guitar.
Yeah, there you go. Mm-hmm.
So we'll have to work on
he'll do it.
Maybe we'll take Elijah with him, and we'll have an interlude with Ethan on some exotic piano.
All the youth playing, but they're all tearing it up. That's for sure. Irvin's tearing it up.
That's great.
Yeah.
Now, what's your wife been doing lately? Has she been teaching the kids?
Well, she's teaching the kids, and she's
a homeschooling mom.
She's a homeschool mom. She teaches all the kids. She's running the household. Right now, the kids are older, so it's there's a lot of miles.
Well, the youngest is not that old.
11,
right?
But they're all there's a lot of miles being put on the vehicle, on the family van, as they're getting them helping with all the kids with getting to places that need to be. The older ones, all three of them are working. I mean, the oldest drives, so she's driving around the middle children to their jobs and to their go. She's also really involved with the homeschool association. She administers the choir over there and helps out a lot, and keeping all that whole choir running. And so she's very busy with that. So she's extremely busy.
Yeah, I know they are.
Yeah.
They are.
Yeah.
These women make the world go round.
Yes. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, what are you going to show us on bass? Give us an introduction to 251. What's a 251? Somebody said that's a jazz thing.
It's anything.
We meet at an address. It's 251.
A 251. Well, in music, most of our Western music is based off the major scales. So you have do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. If we enumerate that, it would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. Right?
Yeah.
Okay, so a 251 in the key of C would be D, G, C. And someone would call that a cadence. And if we form chords off of those root notes, it would be D minor 7, and then G7, and then C major 7. So that's a very common chord progression in jazz, but in all different genres as well.
In the composition or in the performance?
In the composition. So you have, in classical music, you would call something like that a cadence. But you'd have 5, 1, 2, 5, 1. I can play the chords 2, 5, 1. And that would be the chord progression. And then the person who was improvising would play a line, and improvise a melodic line over those chords. You know, something like that. There's
So
another one.
having a 2-5-1 and based on what you just described, that's essential, a necessity for somebody who wants to play jazz. They have to be familiar with that.
Or any style of music. I mean, if you take the major scale and you put it into Roman numerals, so if you're playing country music, you know, say, all right, I'll go to the 4 chord. So if we're in the key of G, the 4 chord G A B C is the C. So we have to go, you know, if I'm playing boom, 1 chord, 4 chord, you know,
Yeah, I saw
5 chord, you know. So it's like you got to know your.
Who's the redheaded slide player? What's her name?
Bonnie Raitt.
Yeah, Bonnie Raitt.
Yeah.
When you know, John Lee Hooker was playing.
Yeah.
And he just does what he does. He doesn't know what he's doing. He's not trained in any way.
Sure.
But she's playing with a group.
Mm-hmm.
Must have been an award ceremony or something. And she's telling everybody, like, when to change.
Yeah, to like the 3.
Hooker doesn't change. He just goes straight through.
Yeah, well, he was Mississippi Delta and stuff like that. I mean, he was the real deal. You know, no joke.
So she's telling everybody, and it was really great to see her interpret where they needed to be. I saw Billy Joel do that one time when they were playing a Beatles song at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. He's telling everybody,
oh. It was like going to the 5 chord or go to the 4 chord. Yeah.
Right. So if you know the key, then you'll know what they want.
Exactly. So you put everything into Roman numerals and for that. But the 2-5-1 is one of the most common chord progressions in the Great American Songbook, which jazz musicians typically use to improvise over. So everyone's.
So you'll hear it in Gershwin. You'll hear.
Oh yeah, everything in Rodgers and Hart, all those tunes. Every song has a 2-5-1 in it, and then so if you improvise, you have to learn how to play over those chords, and that's it. Yeah.
And so you have to know, if you're a guitarist or a bassist, you got to know your keyboard. I mean you got to know your fretboard.
Yeah.
Where the things are, where they'll come back again, how to do it up, how to do it down.
Exactly. You got to know your chord tones, you got to know your scale tones, and then you have to understand the lineage of the music to understand the phrasing, because it's not just a theoretical thing that you plug in. You know, you have to understand the history of the music and how people phrased, and you know, how to do that. So you learn that by learning the melodies and transcribing. And
this is very interesting.
Yeah.
I want to ask if we can do this again and build on this next time and talk about more depth to these ideas in music.
Sure.
So we could share them with people. People get a little edified. We don't want to edify people too much. They'll get frightened and run away.
Okay.
But if we could introduce some of these ideas, because sometimes people just like to listen to music. They don't really care anything about the technicalities. But I think that they would certainly be open to learning, and if you would be so kind, since you said you have lots of experience teaching,
yes,
then we would like to learn it.
Okay.
Does that sound good?
Sounds good to me.
All right, so this has been your first episode of Meet Messiahs. This is Mr. Messiahs right over here. Even though he's from Jersey, we've given him honorary mention because he's a great man, a great guy, and a good husband and father, and a bass player. So we'll see you soon. And it's Irving at the controls. We want to give full credit to Mr. Brand. And he's almost as tall as his daddy now.
Yeah.
That's pretty tall. All right, so we say good night. Buonanotte.
Yeah.